Check. Fantasy nerd elf stuff. Gandalf.
Check. Dan and I have a confession to make.
We're kind of big nerds. We both love fantasy books. Did you read fantasy before we met in college?
No, you introduced me to fantasy.
I feel really proud of that because one of my great passions in life is getting people to read really good books in a different genre, which is fantasy.
Yeah, well, a different genre if they're not already into sci-fi and fantasy.
I don't even remember the first book I told you to read.
I don't remember either, but
Probably could have been Ender's Game because that's a good one to start with. But for today, I just want to talk about some of my favorite fantasy books, which I think you've read most of them by now.
I would say I've probably read all of them.
Yeah.
I feel like we've probably read all the same books.
Because you keep coming back to me and you're like, Dan, give me another book.
Yeah, I'm out of like all the best fantasy books.
This is something I've said a ton to my wife and she thinks I'm ridiculous, but I have read all the good fantasy books. People are gonna hate that, but no, I have read all the good fantasy books and I'm waiting for authors to create more because I'm out.
I just saw on somebody's TikTok, she's like cosmere. She's based on Brandon Sanderson, which is entirely understandable.
We're gonna talk a lot about him today.
Yeah. Somebody commented on one of her videos that this past year has been like the year of like the great like reread, or she's just reread like all of her favorites. And I'm in the same boat. I feel like the past 2 years I've reread so many of my favorite fantasy books because there's not enough new ones coming out that are amazing.
So what are some of your rereads for this year?
And when I say read, it also might be listened to.
I mean, I'm counting that. I don't think there's any difference.
Anyway, so I reread, listened to The Wheel of Time, the whole series.
I did that too. Before the TV series came out,
Yes.
I read the whole thing.
The Stormlight Archive, I've read those books so many times. So I reread A Man of His Word, which is a phenomenal series.
Actually, I want to bring that up because that's an older series, and I feel like a lot of people who might be reading Sanderson or Patrick Rothfuss
100%.
don't realize that there's some really good older series.
Really good.
And so if you haven't yet, A Man of His Word is a 4-book series by Dave Duncan. One of my favorite series ever.
Yeah, it's so good.
And
such an interesting magic system.
that's what I like about it. If you like Sanderson, I think you're gonna like that one. It's simple, but like there's layers.
Yeah.
That's what Sanderson does really well in all of his books. He's like, here's the magic system. Oh, there's another layer. There's another layer. There's another layer.
If you read the whole series
Of A Man of His Word?
Of A Man of His Word, it's a great ending.
Well, the build is fantastic.
Yeah.
Every book, there's 4 books, and every book you're like, oh man, the main character is just getting beat down. Like he's not able to.
Why are those books so good? Where the main character just gets beat down and beat down.
I forget who said this, but they talked about putting their character in a tree and throwing rocks at him.
Is it the Dresden Files author?
Maybe.
Because
Jim Butcher
is always throwing rocks at his main character.
Okay, yeah, you're
Boulders.
right. Jim Butcher does that fantastically well. Oh, there's so many books to talk about. I'm so glad we're not just doing dad jokes anymore. I've wanted to talk about books for a year.
We want to enter book talk.
Can we visit book talk? Because we've got so many things to talk about. So you were talking about your favorite books that you've been rereading. You said,
what else have I been reading?
You reread the 2 Patrick Rothfuss books.
And we could have a whole podcast on how irritated we are with that man.
But you know what? That's the way it is. It's gonna take 20 years for the 3rd book to come out. I don't care.
Will he live that long? That's what I'm worried about.
I don't know. I hope so. I had this thought the other day. This is the greatest contrast of fantasy authors in the whole world. Brandon Sanderson and Patrick Rothfuss.
Yes.
One of them churns out like 4 books a year. That's Sanderson. One of them churns out 1 book every 10 years.
20 years?
That's Rothfuss.
How long? It's been more than 10 years since.
Patrick Rothfuss he writes my favorite books. He wrote my favorite books. But
I like how you changed it from he writes my favorite books to he wrote my favorite books.
And we don't know about the future.
That's so true.
But we're never going to get the full depth of his creativity. Like, I know he's got more in there, but he writes so slow.
I want to finish that series so bad because it's so good.
Right. I regret that there's so much that he could write, and he's a fantastic writer.
Phenomenal
that we're never going to see. And then over on the other hand, we have Sanderson, who writes so much that I'm like, slow down and take your time, man. Enjoy it. See your family. But But he writes so much, and I'm so glad that we have him
Sanderson is on TikTok.
I know.
Maybe we can get him to comment on this video if everybody wants to tag him.
I do love seeing his stuff. Here's the thing. So with Sanderson, I do think his first book in the Stormlight Archive blew my mind. Like,
so good.
So good. And I think what he was able to do when he wrote that book was take his time a little more on it. He has so many projects now that his later Stormlight Archive books, still fantastic, but I don't feel like they have as much like maybe polish as the very first one. And that's fine. Like he's gonna do what he's gonna do. He's got a ton of stories that he wants to get out. But some of his first books are my favorites still. Like the Mistborn series.
So I reread the whole Mistborn series, all 5, and the 6th one just came out.
Which 7th? I think there's 4 in the 2nd series, and it's done now. There's 3 for the original Mistborn trilogy, and there's 4 in the later quadrology.
4? Sure. Did you finish that book?
Yeah. It's good.
We're not going to give any spoilers, but...
No. Patrick Rothfuss wrote my favorite books, but Sanderson's my favorite author. Because Sanderson ties together all his books into the cosmere, or a lot of them. So you can have characters from one book, like making cameos in other books, and it's just, it's interesting.
I actually talked about that on his TikTok, that when he was younger, a younger author, he was hesitant to do that because... I think he was afraid it was like breaking genre a little too much. He didn't know how receptive readers would be to it. But now he's basically like the god of fantasy, so he can do whatever he wants.
He's at the top. He's at the top. He really can. And he's building basically a Marvel Cinematic Universe in the fantasy book realm.
So much better.
The cosmere.
Don't even compare it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm just saying.
This is so much
You know how much money got pumped into the Marvel Cinematic Universe to create all those movies?
This is all just from Sanderson's brain.
The guy's insane. And so I mentioned that Cosmere is great, but the main reason I like Sanderson is that he creates magic systems which are understandable. They act like science in those worlds.
Yep.
But then it allows his characters to grow and learn new things about the magic and create like innovation within the magic system that blows you away every single book.
All the stuff in the Stormlight Archive with Fabrials, it's literally like mixing science and magic, and it's so cool.
It is.
And to them, it's probably all science. Like, when he has characters interact from different worlds, the person that lives on that world is like, this isn't magic. And the other person's like, well, this isn't magic. And they're like, no, that is magic. And it's like, that's funny because to them, it's basically just science.
What is interesting is that in all of his series, there are people who can use that science and people who can't.
True.
And so that's what makes it still magic. Like in our world, anybody can use science. But in his books, like some people can use it, some people can't.
That's what's cool about the Fabrials. Anybody actually can
That's true.
use.
They're like magic that's created for everyone.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mistborn for a second. This was the first magic system I'd ever come across that was incredibly easy to understand.
It was the first Sanderson series that both of us read, right?
Right. Incredibly easy to understand, and it allowed a lot of growth and development for the characters to try new things in that magic system. And I don't think I'll give anything away by saying that the magic system is they ingest metals and they're able to do things in the world. They're able to control the world around them by ingesting those metals, and then they burn up and they have to ingest more. That's a crazy magic system. Who comes up with that?
I know.
And based on that one concept, he's written 7 books in that series, and he's gonna write more because what else is cool about Mistborn is the first trilogy was like kind of medieval city fantasy.
Yes.
The second series was kind of like
steampunk,
gunpowder magic blending. And the third series supposedly is gonna be sci-fi.
I know.
Blows my freaking mind.
I cannot wait to read those because that's going to be so interesting.
You know that that's how they're gonna interact with the broader cosmere.
This is maybe a little bit of a spoiler for the 4th Wax and Wayne book, so if you don't want to hear it, move on.
Shut your ears.
It seems like Scadrial is going to be, or is like a very, very key planet for the whole cosmere and like conflict because Harmony like basically advanced them in technology.
Right.
Ahead of any other planet.
That we know of.
Basically what they said in that 4th book.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
That Scadrial is the most advanced? I didn't know that. But we know it's going there. We know it's going there because Sanderson's like, I'm going to write this series of sci-fi Mistborn, which is going to be insane.
How interesting will it be to have a book that is basically a hard mix of sci-fi and fantasy?
This is the great part about Sanderson. He can do it. He's already written his Steelheart series, which was like superhero sci-fi. He's written, what was that one with the girl pilot?
Oh,
Skyward. Or Skyward.
Starsight was the second one.
So we know he can do it because Sanderson writes really good stories. That's his superpower, right?
Right.
He's like, I've got a story and a magic system and I can make my character work through them and it's gonna be amazing.
So I'm going to dive into Stormlight Archive a little bit.
Okay.
Something I thought about a lot during my last rereading of it, especially into like 2nd and 3rd and 4th books. You look at the characters of the people and you're like, Adolin should probably be the main character. In most typical books, he's like the archetypical hero, whereas Kaladin is a mess. And I'm like, that's so much more interesting than putting Adolin as the main character.
And in fact, I think Adolin's story arc might show that the hero has trouble. The hero has problems. And I don't know where it's going to go with him.
I know.
But
can I make a prediction? I think he's going to fully bond his sword and become a Radiant with Do you remember what her name is? I can't remember. That's my guess. Although, since it's my guess, maybe Sanderson won't do that.
Because of you specifically guessing? I don't think it matters.
Because it's somewhat predictable.
Right. I mean, we see that coming. My guess is Sanderson will do something better than what we expect. Because
that would not surprise me.
He takes it to the next level. Like, the stuff that happened in the 4th Stormlight Archive book at the end, you can't believe it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And he has said that it's going to be like 5 books and then 5 books. So he's building in this 4th book to a grand finale. So I'm not surprised that some crazy stuff is going down.
Honestly, it's almost mind-blowing that like you just fully believe that these cultures and people like exist somewhere because they're so well written.
The Stormlight Archives, he has these little like epilogues and little middle sections where you're like flying over Roshar and you're seeing the world unfold below you. And it's humongous, and there's all these different cultures.
How does he have that all in his head? I mean, it's not all in his head, I'm sure, but...
I mean, he's a genius. The guy's a genius. It's funny, because I think Sanderson, maybe more than anybody, inspired us to like start trying to write our own fantasy novels.
If we wrote a book, would you guys read
it? Some of them would. Well, I don't know. Our audience came to us for dad jokes. I don't know if they're sticking around for book
They're like,
talk.
yeah, if you write a dad joke book.
We're not probably going to do that.
Yeah, probably not.
So we've talked about a few authors that we like. Sanderson, Patrick Rothfuss, Dave Duncan. Who else you got?
Man, who's the one that's similar to Dresden?
Like urban fantasy?
Yeah.
Oh, Hexed with the Iron Druid. The Iron Druid series.
Kevin
Hearne.
Hearne.
I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good series too. I actually just went through and finished all of those. There's like 8 of them or 9 of them.
And then, of course, sci-fi, but Ender's Game and Ender's Shadow. Phenomenal books. Ender's Game is 100% in my top 5, maybe even 3 books of all time.
It's a great book, horrible movie.
Yeah. I think the only movies that I've ever seen that have done the books justice is Lord of the Rings.
For fantasy books. Any book ever?
I guess there's a lot of movies.
There's a lot of movies made on books.
Okay, we'll say fantasy.
I agree because
I would say The Hobbit wasn't as good. The TV show is certainly not as good.
Yeah. There's a ton of TV shows coming out right now
Time.
that are fantasy-based. Wheel of Time, we're looking at you. And as they're coming in for the 2nd season of The Wheel of Time, are you going to watch it?
I don't know if I can.
I know.
The whole first season was, and I'm like, maybe they'll, I can understand why they're doing
and the
some
ending
things.
was a big pile of vomit. You don't have to watch the 2nd season if you don't want to. I will watch the 2nd season, and I will tell you all the horrible things they're doing to this series, which we love.
But that's why I'm not going to watch it.
I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you right here in the chairs.
I'll have to watch it. Now that we're on book talk, I'm going to have to watch it.
What do you think of the Black Prism series? How far did you get in those?
So
did you finish them?
I read all of them. The series overall, I mean, it's not super high on my list. It was worth reading. I enjoyed the Assassin series more.
That's the one I didn't read.
Oh, the Assassin one was so interesting.
So you told me it didn't have as much magic, so I was like, eh.
It didn't.
Which is why I didn't read Game of Thrones, which is why I avoid some series. It's just not what I'm going for.
Yeah, there's not as much magic, but it's really interesting. It's that typical like young kid who has to go through a lot of stuff, and I don't know. It's really interesting, very different. There's a lot of twists and turns in that series too. Yeah.
Maybe I should give it a try.
You should. You absolutely
I probably
should.
would like it, and I've been looking for some new books. The latest book I've read was by Evan Winter.
Rage of Dragons. I'm still reading it right now.
Okay, no spoilers. But here's
this book has led me on a journey. It starts out slow, and it slowly builds. And where I'm at now, I'm like, oh my goodness, like very, very surprising in a good way.
I feel like he's a new author. I think this might be his first book. To me, he's able to capture some of the same stuff that Sanderson has in his writing, where Sanderson's like completely raising the bar, and you're surprised by it every time.
Yes.
And I feel like he's done the same thing in Rage of Dragons. You're like, okay, I know where this is going. Then you're like, what? And I was surprised to come across another author who I felt sort of did as well as Sanderson does in just completely raising the stakes and throwing rocks at his character.
Yeah, and it's very, very well written. Like, especially if this is his first book.
It's
good.
Yeah, he's a really good breakout author. Now, another book that probably a lot of people have read and really stands out to me is Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch.
Yes.
I love a good. This isn't urban fantasy. This is city fantasy. I'm making subgenres up.
Right.
But like they're in a city and they're pulling a heist and they're kind of like thieves and they're setting up plans and everything goes wrong.
Super interesting.
Super intense. The characters get just the crap beat out of them a lot.
Yeah.
Like, so in that sense, if you like Jim Butcher and how much Dresden gets just pushed up against the wall and pummeled, like that happens in this book too. Lies of Loch Lamora is fantastic. There's a second one and I think maybe a third one.
Yeah, Gentleman Bastards is the name of the
series.
Actually, I think there's more than 3.
There might be more. I haven't kept up with them.
The first 2 are really good.
Yes.
The third one kind of fell off a little bit, I think.
Yeah. So those are good. And then there's another series which kind of reminds me of The Lies of Locke Lamora. Sworn in Steel by Douglas Hulick. If you like Lies of Locke Lamora, you might like Sworn in Steel. What?
I can't believe we haven't brought this up.
Which one?
Powder Mage trilogy.
Oh yeah, those are good. Brian McClellan.
So, very, very interesting books.
Fantastic blending of kind of like Industrial Revolution with magic. And
very similar like time era or whatever to the Wax and Wayne books.
Yeah, so Powder Mage trilogy.
Completely different.
Really intense, lots of just vicious battles and this blurring of lines between there's people with like gunpowder magic skills and then like just pure magic skills.
Yeah, so interesting. The gunpowder magic is...
They can like enhance the effects of gunpowder / use gunpowder like cocaine to like enhance their own abilities. Like this book is incredible and really unique.
The first one, because it's so like groundbreaking.
You're just trying to catch up. Yeah. You're like hanging on for the ride. And it starts out with this like inspector, this like kind of detective guy and he's following threads. But really it just goes off the walls after that.
I don't know if that's the prologue. We'll call it the prologue either way. From how the prologue opens, you don't expect where the story's going to go.
It's really good. That's a really good series. Here's another author I want to mention too is Naomi Novik. You've read a few of her books.
Yeah.
Her latest series was the Scalaman series.
Oh yeah, that was really interesting.
She kind of combines a little bit of YA with a little bit of like modern fantasy. I don't really know where to put her. She's an incredible writer.
Very strange book.
It's like if you took Harry Potter's World of Hogwarts and turned it into like this prison school where kids went to like survive.
To not die.
Yeah, and then learn magic.
Except maybe die.
Along the way. And I loved it. It was like, because like for me, I get Harry Potter was this like cornerstone of fantasy novels for a whole generation. But when they came out, I'd already been reading fantasy, I'd been reading Robert Jordan, and I was like,
It's not top tier.
I read a few and I was like, I'm not gonna read all these.
Yeah.
I've watched all the movies, but it's like, I don't really care.
Not quite as good as like the Twilight series.
Good grief. Well, all right, we'll talk about Twilight for a minute.
I read a quarter of the first book and because we read fantasy.
I got a few pages in.
I'm like, it's big. I read maybe a quarter and I was like, I couldn't push myself anymore.
Twilight's not for me. It made a lot of people interested in like more of the urban fantasy, vampire, whatever, and that's great. There's some good stuff like the Jim Butcher. If you were like, I wish I could love Twilight, go read Jim Butcher.
Yeah.
It's just better.
Or Kevin Hearne.
Kevin Hearne's book, The Iron Druid. Yeah, there's some of that in there too. Oh yeah, there is a lot of actual vampire. I like it when people take this vampire trope and make it something interesting.
Well, you know what's really interesting about Iron Druid? He pulls so much historical, like
mythology.
Actual like different people's mythology.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting.
He goes on this story arc with his characters. Like he takes his characters to a place that they can't come back from.
Yeah.
They're really good. If you like Jim Butcher, definitely read Kevin Hearne. Man, there's so much I want to talk about, but I know...
Next time.
Yeah,
we'll have to get to it next time.
This is just us nerding out and being like, we love fantasy books, and we'll come back with more of this. We might even go deep dives into specific series, because obviously we have a lot to talk about. And we're definitely going to talk about the next season of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time on Amazon, because that is going to suck.
Yeah, it's going to be so bad.
So stick around for that.
I have a prediction that it's going to be even worse than the first season.
We'll do a whole podcast on the first season. All right?
Okay,
I promise you right now, a
agreed.
whole podcast on that.
And if you guys want to help support the new podcast and you like our bro gear, bro hats, bro mugs, go check them out at brosnotpros.com.
I hate tea.